3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course where we always encourage you to call in to join in today. And we sure hope, with the crazy snow weekend we've had, trying to contact the guests as I normally do. Doug Ingoldsby, our scheduled guest today, talking about nutritional tips for avoiding stress. We're hoping we get in contact with him, and of course, if we do, we'll bring him live to you, and you can ask questions of Dr. Ingoldsby. Or, if we have to switch gears, we'll go into any particular subject you'd like to. The number remains the same, 412-825-6262. What kind of a weekend did you have, Pittsburgh? Sure to be interested in knowing how you're all doing out there. I'm guessing if your power's off, you're not even listening today. But my goodness gracious, how long is it going to take before this gets restored? Well, we get power here in the office. Don't have it in the home, by the way. Power here in the office, and because of it, we're with you live today. 412-825-6262 will be the number to call in and give us a jingle if you care to. Now, speaking of up-and-coming guests, we are going to try to pull off today the Doug Ingoldsby scheduled interview. Let's talk about some of the past shows we've done. Wednesday and Friday, of course, we spent some time introducing a brand new product line to Pittsburgh. I don't think anybody else has it yet. I believe everybody will have it in not too far distant future. Talking about transparent holographic chips by this company known as Ciara. That's C-I-E-A-U-R-A. 2 words, by the way, C-I-E-A-U-R-A. And if you want to find out more about that, you can head to the website for Ciara at www.drcourtney, spelled with a D-R, C-O-U-R-T-N-E-Y, D-R, C-O-U-R-T-N-E-Y, Ciara, C-I-E-A-U-R-A.com. And contrary to some listeners who've called in and said, I can't get that website, what mistake have you made? I am afraid I didn't make the mistake. You got to put a couple of things together. Don't forget those dots, www.drcourtney.ciara.com, and you can read about the holographic chips. If you have a mind to, you can call up and or dial it up and order some. If you're coming in here to my office to be seen in consultation, one of the things we'll talk about is of the 3 things that these chips can be used for, whether it's a pain problem, a sleep issue, or whether or not it's an energy issue. I'll put one of these chips on you just for gratis to see how they respond for you, and then you can decide whether or not you think they warrant additional interest on your part. But to get it all started, you can just dial up the website at www.drcourtney.ciara.com, and then you can order them right off the website if you have a mind to. Also, too, Fruit of the Spirit is a great sponsorship of ours who we first brought to you a few months ago. Now it is sold at a very reasonable price of $29. You can order it off the phone number I'm going to give you, which is an 800 number, 1-800-442-3793. You'll be hearing that same number when we run some spots with Deborah Ray doing our commercials. 800-442-3793. 14 biblical fruit purees. That's number 1. Number 2, Alkalinized minerals from the Dead Sea is number 3. Resveratrol thrown in there, I guess, just to top it all off. For the spirit, it tastes so good, and 1 ounce is the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. So, David Potts, you can, by the way, I recorded the shows, as I always do, for a reason, because you can now go back and dial up my website, the regular website at djcmd.com. That's djcmd.com. Go to the website, click on the archives, and listen to the shows from February 3rd and February 5th, where we interviewed Dr. Potts, and you'll be able to refresh yourself. If you didn't hear the shows, I can understand and you don't know what I'm talking about, so go on and listen to them. It'll be worth your while for these 3 problems, the symptoms of which can really be cleared up at a high percentage of cases and very rapidly removed. Okay, up and coming shows. Today we're going to attempt with Ingoldsby. He may have been snowed in and he doesn't have any power. Who knows? On Wednesday, Cass Ingram's going to be back. He is the most knowledgeable person that I know of on oregano, and he's written many books on the subject. He's going to be here talking about a fungus among us and the use of, I'm sure, oregano in the treatment of that fungus. So we'll be looking forward for Cass Ingram on Wednesday. Dr. Ed Conrad is going to be with us on the 22nd of the month in preparation for his Pittsburgh arrival, which will be a month later, the end of March. He generated a lot of interest by his coming here in December, so much so that he couldn't handle all of those who wanted to get an ophthalmological treatment, which is what he does when he comes to town. And they limit the seminar participation for the treatments at least at 12. And the number was way over 12, so that's why he's coming back. And we'll be having that, I might as well dial that up, that free seminar, so you can cross it off on your calendar on the 21st of March. Dr. Ed will be here. I just don't know, and I'm not so sure of the hotel right now. More than likely it is the Marriott at the airport as it was in December, but I'm not sure. And so just cross the date off for the free seminar that he'll hold on the 21st. And then that means that the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th are his treatment seminars for those who are interested in those. So, Dr. Ed coming back to town, homeboy Maygood, living in Phoenix, Arizona right now. And what else? Oh, Raymond Francis is going to be coming up in the first week of March. He's written another book on cancer, and I'd be very much interested in what he has to report on that. That's the calendar items as I see them right now. Now, a little Pearl, and I just been teeming with enthusiasm to pass it on to you, as I always do. But there's not a listener out there that doesn't appreciate the fact, because I know they introduce the concept to me on the air all the time, that acidity is not good. And that with acidity comes disease, and cancer can't survive in an alkaline environment. It can only survive in an acidic environment. And then the myriad of little isms that go along with this acidity are just endless. But I'll drop a pearl on you today because since I came across it, I didn't know this before, and here's the pearl. Listening to a lecture of a pretty good nutritionist this past couple of weeks. She was talking about acidic foods and alkaline foods, and she was talking about the tops of the lists. In other words, what's the most acidic foods and what are the most alkaline foods to help you decide on what you should include in your diet. So here it comes. The number one at the top of the list of acidic foods is table salt. That stuff that Morton gives you, that is dead, at least by the time it arrives to you. Well, that's the most acidic of all foods. I guess we're going to call it food. Now, if that's the most acidic of all foods, what's the most alkaline of all foods? And it turns out that's sea salt. So put the little pearl aside, carry it with you well, pull it out whenever you are into your isms of what's acidic and what's not. And so now you have the two most extremes. What's the most acidic food and what's the most alkaline? And it all is wrapped around this issue of salt, whether it comes from the sea or whether it comes from Morton's. And I guess you figured out which one is which. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to try. Barry, you left a number at Doug Ingoldsby's backup. He may be trying to call you. We're going to try to pull this off, whereby we get a hold of our guest today. If we don't, be ready to switch some gears. We'll have some fun with it either way. So be back in a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to An Impact on Your Health. Out here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. We're here post-blizzard, post-disaster, post-snowmageddon, as I saw in the headlines yesterday morning. But we're surviving it, and I know many people out there are still stuck. If you were able to get to a radio and you're listening to me today, I feel very fortunate because quite a few people don't have any power to do that. Anyway, guess what? Miracles have it as it would. We found Doug Ingoldsby. Hey, it turned out to be a bad phone number. We worked it out. He's with us right now. Doug is the founder of All One Supplements, manufacturer of the world's first high-potency multiple vitamin / mineral / protein powder called All One. The Ingoldsby family has been in the vitamin business since 1936. Doug's father, James, was responsible for creating the first high-potency vitamin C and worked with nutritionist Adele Davis, you know that number, do you not, to create the first stress formula, many of the first multiple vitamins and mineral combinations, and the first nutritional candy bar. Remember this one? Tiger's Milk. Anyway, he's with us today, as he usually is, with an interesting topic. Today we're going to be talking about nutritional tips for beating stress, which he calls the silent killer, and so appropriately does label it as such. Let's say good morning to him now. Good welcome. Welcome back, Doug Ingoldsby.
Hey, Dr. Courtney, thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, geez, a little bit of some blips on the radar screen, but thanks for the power of suggestive numbers, and I'm glad you called the station so we could bring you up today. We're looking forward to this topic, which I'm sure you're going to enlighten us about. This thing about, I know we did this once before, but when you're so strongly entrenched in a business, it looks as though, in your case, it wasn't too difficult to find out where you were going to make your mark in life because it had been charted out for you. You could hardly but not avoid entering the vitamin business, so to speak. Isn't that true?
Right, the son of tiger's milk. Right?
The son of tiger's milk. That's right.
Yeah, right.
So you've got the family, a long history of working in this area, and I remember our last conversation when I didn't know these facts, and you first revealed them to us. So, well, thank goodness you've maintained the family business, and now you're about manufacturing high potencies even today and educating patients. Today we're going to, listeners, we'll call them listeners today. I'm in my office. I make mistakes like that. Talk to us about these this thing I'll call it stress and how harmful it is to us, and why does it lead to health problems?
Well, it's interesting because oftentimes, everybody uses the term stress now. It's like, it's part of our lexicon. Oh, I'm so stressed out, or it's I got a stressful day, and it's interesting to realize that not that many years ago, really, 50 years ago, the word didn't even really exist. There was a Dr. Hans Selye, who was a Hungarian-born physician. I believe he worked out of the University of Montreal, and he was the one that actually came up with the term stress. And it studied it, looked into it, started, paying attention to what the physical symptoms of it were, what the psychological symptoms of it were, what actually causes stress. While he was in the process of his studies, Adele, who was very astute as to cutting-edge research, kind of heard about him. They came into contact in those days through letters because they didn't have email and that type of thing. And she kind of took it upon herself to look into what are the nutritional components that are affected, because that was kind of her specialty, her angle. And so, looking into it, what nutrients do stress kind of annihilate from the body, which is a lot. And that was how they actually ended up creating the first stress formula, which is primarily the B complex vitamins, the vitamin C, the water-soluble vitamins are what are the most fragile. They're the ones that get eaten up the quickest. So if you were to go into, your local health food store or drugstore and ask for a stress formula, that would probably mirror, pretty much the water-soluble components with a few other minerals. And so it's been very interesting. And since that time, now they're doing, more and more studies on stress and finding out what does it actually do in terms of the physiological body. And what they're finding is that it's a lot, and it has a lot to do with a lot of long-term chronic issues that we face as a society. Basically come from being under stress all the time, and kind of eventually things start to break, and now they're finding even cancer, which is something that they never equated the two, is actually can be drawn a straight line to living a very stressful lifestyle for a long period of time.
Yeah, you got a number of systems listed out in front of me. Seems like every single central nervous system, cardiovascular system, digestive. There's not a system that remains untouched by the stress component that I didn't realize Hans Selye invented the word. That's the first time I ever heard that one.
Yeah. They didn't even have the term, and he came up with it. And Selye, he actually had a chart that he created, kind of measuring, what is considered a stressful situation. Because people say, well, what do you mean when you're under stress? What's that mean? And he actually created like a chart, like from a 1 to 10 kind of chart. And like, for example, the death of a spouse would be a 10.
Yeah.
The stress thing. And not getting the parking space that you wanted would be a 1. So
That'd maybe an 8 for me. I don't know about you.
Depends on who you are and how fast you have to get
That's exactly right. Oh, geez. Well, I noticed too that besides the vitamins, and we'll get to them, there are a wide range of foods that are also known to be helpful in fighting stress. What are some of the foods that must have large quantities of these vitamins in them, or for what reason are they considered to be good stress-fighting foods?
Right. Well, any nutrition-rich food is what you ought to be eating when you're under stress. Your fresh fruits, your vegetables, these types of things, because they're very high in antioxidants, and they're very high in the water-soluble vitamins. And so that's what you should be snacking on. That's what you should be eating. Those are the meals that you should be preparing. But the problem is, and this is a study that just came out, I think, last year, is that when they've proven pretty much through surveying people under stress that what people do is they tend to do just the opposite of what they should do. They tend to eat more, go for what is referred to in the study as comfort foods. Foods that are very high in sugar, foods that are very high in salt, fast foods, that type of thing. And also the other thing that happens when a person's under stress is that they tend to skip meals. They're just they can't bother with that because I'm dealing with this type of attitude. And so when you start skipping meals, when you are eating foods that are loaded in sugar, sugar, as I'm sure you're aware, is it is its own annihilator of vitamins in the system. And the vitamins that sugar eats up, burns up, uses up quickly, it's the same grouping of nutrients that you lose when you're under stress. So, it just kind of accelerates the deficiency because of these bad eating habits that tend to accompany you being under stress.
I noticed too that when it comes to those good things you talk about eating, those vegetables, USDA, which automatically says this has got to be a wrong number, they say you need 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day at a minimum. So I would ask you, what's the real number?
Yeah.
If they think it's 5, what's the real number?
Well, it's probably even a little more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also has to do with how the fruits and vegetables prepared. You can overcook something to the point where it started out as a vegetable that was rich in vitamins, but by the time it sits on a steam table for a long period of time, or you cook it at high heats over a long period of time, the vitamins and minerals that were in there are no longer in there. You're familiar with Sharaskin, the study that he and Ringsdorf did on diet and disease, the study of food from the garden to the gullet. And, even though it was a relatively boring book to read, he used to call it the greatest soberifics and somatics. It was a very detailed study of what happens to food from the time it's picked until it's, prepared and the time that you eat it. And there's so many places where there's nutrient loss in the foods that we eat that it really makes a case for, look, if you're under stress, you're eating poorly, you're eating a lot of sugar, and even when you are eating, fruits and vegetables, that they're, have their own issues in terms of how many vitamins and minerals are actually left, it really makes a really hard case for supplements, for really, let's really get some good vitamins, minerals, amino acids in the body and see how far that goes in terms of stabilizing the system. And it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Now, we've got to talk about what foods you should eat. You probably shouldn't make a mention about which ones you really need if you're under stress to avoid. There's some pretty popular ones here. Especially with caffeine. What do you find that doesn't have caffeine in it? And you have that right at the top of the list of things to avoid.
Yeah, caffeine is the main problem with caffeine. I mean, it's in moderation. I don't really, have that big an issue with it. The problem is people tend to start their day with it and live on it until sometime around noon. And it's when you're living on a stimulant, when your body is running on something that's giving it energy, but it's kind of a false energy. In other words, it's not really getting the energy from vitamins, from minerals, from things that are really building it up. It's just kind of running on a stimulant. That will have an effect for sure. So yeah, I would say definitely, maybe have 1 cup of coffee or switch to black tea or something like that, which has caffeine but is not quite as
Yeah, it just has a small amount. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we hit some foods. Now these individual vitamins and minerals are fascinating, and I'm sure you know all too well what role they play and what metabolic process gets interrupted. For instance, if I said vitamin C, which appears especially in your family with the first high potency vitamin C invented by your father, what happens if you don't get enough vitamin C, or how does an adequate amount of vitamin C really help you?
Well, vitamin C it's really an amazing nutrient. I mean, it's certainly, I would say actually right now, Dr. Courtney, it's competing with vitamin D for the top slot.
And vitamin D came on like gangbusters in the past year.
Vitamin D now has become like the new, vitamin that everybody talks about. But, years ago, it was certainly vitamin C was the most popular one. And I was just reading the other day, I was just kind of scanning around on my computer while we were talking, trying to find the link. But I have, on my Google alerts, I'll have vitamins. I think it's an interesting thing for people to do if they're interested in nutrition, is put that in, you can make an alert. And then everything that's published on vitamins that comes out that's printed, will come up on your computer every morning. And I find it kind of fascinating to see what people are saying about, vitamins over the years. And there was a study that came up that said vitamin C and wound healing. And I thought, God, I've heard that before. And so I went in, and it was a food consumer magazine. And it was basically showing how if you have high doses of vitamin C and you're wounded, in other words, something's, you've hurt yourself in some capacity, that you will actually heal in half the time if you're taking somewhere in the vicinity of 4 grams of vitamin C a day.
4,000.
And this was a study that I was familiar with because it was conducted in 1984, or published actually in 84. It was conducted a little bit before that by Dr. Sharaskin, who was really my mentor, someone that I worked with for years and years, and Dr. Ringsdorf. And what they did was they took these, like you said, undergraduate dental students, which they could experiment on, and they basically put a punch. They took like a half a millimeter or a millimeter dermal punch and they actually wounded their gum. They actually went in and created a little hole in their gum, and then they basically would paint this every day with this blue dye that would show how big the wound was. And then they took a picture every day, and they had a control group and they had a group that was getting 4 grams of vitamin C a day. And they would just paint it, take the picture, that's it. Paint it, take the picture, that's it. And then he would show the slides side by side when he was doing his presentation. And you could just see the people that didn't have the vitamin C, after a week, it was still there, pretty much the same size. And the people that were taking the vitamin C, the wound had healed. I mean, such a simple way of studying vitamin C and wound healing. And here it is, this year, 2010. And right now, they're just getting around to, kind of going, wow, did you know that if you take vitamin C, that it helps your wound healing capabilities? So there's been so many studies like that. That particular one had to do with wound healing, but there's been so many studies like that have been done over time that just kind of get pushed to the side, get ignored, there may be some doctor or some author who will write a book about it and it'll get some attention, which is wonderful. I mean, that's why I think it's wonderful that the attention that vitamin D is finally getting, because, vitamin D deficiencies are rampant in our society right now, and it has to do with a couple things. One of them is the fact that we tend to, when we go outside, if we live in a sunny area, is to put on sunblock, because everyone's so paranoid of skin cancers now. And the sunblock actually blocks the production of vitamin C, because vitamin C is one of the few, vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of the few nutrients that is actually produced by just exposing your skin to the sunlight. Most vitamins are not produced in the body, but vitamin D is. And so you have that. People go outside, they smear themselves with sunblock. It does a lot to prevent skin cancer, but it's also blocking the production of vitamin D. And now, especially in children, they're finding a resurgence of rickets. Rickets is a vitamin D deficiency that has to do, shows up with brittle bones and that type of thing. And they're finding that kids nowadays, because they're, when they come home from school, instead of getting on the bike and running around and playing outside, they go inside and start sitting in front of the gaming console or in front of the computer. Yeah. And so they're not getting the natural vitamin D that they, people used to get in the old days. And now they're finding, the Center for Disease Control is finding a resurgence in rickets in our country. It's really far out. I mean, that's just... Yeah. So it shows you how much just simple changes in lifestyle can affect, a person's nutrient content. And something like, not being outside after school has gone a long way to give, this resurgence of rickets in our country.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a short break.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Doug Ingoldsby. We have a lot to talk about, but we can interrupt ourselves if you got a question for him. The number to do that is 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. We're going to take a short break. Be back in a moment with Doug talking more about stress and how to prevent it. Be right back. Are you there, Doug?
Yeah, right here.
Okay, you're in the background. We got this stuff playing. I don't know if you can hear it, but I sure can. We got about 20 minutes left, maybe a little more than that. Where do you want to go with this? Anywhere in particular, above and beyond where we've started?
No, I think we're rolling.
We can fast food lunches, soda, that's a lot of sugar. We could all take that evening walk. And hey, I heard a program about fruit and spirit. What did they say? 1 ounce, the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits with herbs and minerals.
Yeah, we're going to ask that question about, is there really more stress now than ever before? Because that's the interesting one that you posed. We'll ask that when we come back. That'll kick us off.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Dr. Courtney?
Yes.
Are you going to be taking calls?
Yes.
Okay, there's one call waiting for you. I will not beat you for that.
All right, we'll take it as soon as we come back.
3793 for a special promotional
Got one back there, Doug.
All right, for your good health. Fruit the Spirit, convenient, affordable, and delicious. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. We're here with you on this frigid and snow-packed Monday morning version of the show. We're here with Doug Ingoldsby today talking about stress, how to avoid it, how nutritionally to avoid or improve your stress profile. We've had an interesting discussion up to this moment. We continue to have the desire to do so for the remaining amount of time. And, of course, we'll always open up the phones to you. 412-825-6262 is a number to get in on this, 412-825-6262. In the interim, we did have a caller. They're in there right now. You're with Dr. Doug Ingoldsby. Go right ahead.
Good morning, doctor.
Hi.
I just wondered if you're having trouble with your adrenal glands, if you take like a lot of extra vitamin C, would that help it?
Well, what do you think, Doug?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the adrenals are, one of the main organs that vitamin C affects, and adrenal collapse or adrenal fatigue is, every time they get in there and they start studying that, they find out that people are, really need a lot more vitamin C. And, there's a thing called the fight and flight syndrome that we all have. It's kind of a mechanism that's built in, and it has a lot to do with the adrenal cortex. And what happens is that when if you are kind of under stress and like that, it's kind of like racing the motor. And that's one of the reasons that vitamins are kind of burned up when you're under stress, because it's like burning the fuel, like stomping on the accelerator a lot on your car, or you get really bad mileage. And the same thing's true with the human body. If you're under stress a lot, then what happens is it starts burning up vitamins, and vitamin C is definitely one of them. So
the vitamin C can help bring it, help it along.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say definitely if you're having those issues, dose up on your vitamin C, and it will go a long way to helping you out.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Bye.
You're here with Dr. Doug Ingoldsby. We're talking about stress and how to nutritionally combat it. There's another caller who's dialed us up, and let's bring you right in and say good morning to Mr. Ingoldsby. Go right ahead and ask your question.
Good morning, Mr.
Ingoldsby.
I wanted to ask you a question about vitamin C.
Everybody with a vitamin C. Yeah. Still number one. Go ahead. Go.
It's still the most popular.
Yeah.
Vitamin C, I heard for a long time, I'm pushing 60 now, and for a long time I heard, how important vitamin C is. But I must be one of them oddballs. When I try to take high doses of vitamin C, like one time I try to build up to, what they call body tolerance with vitamin C, and I'll tell you what, I actually bled out the back end. Red blood actually, it irritated me so bad, the gastrointestinal tract. And I even tried taking like FRC and different vitamin C's with the different mineral salts, and they still seem to, in fact, I still have a bottle out in the cabinet. I tried a little experiment. I put a little, like a quarter teaspoon on my tongue, and it actually burnt my tongue. It just felt like it was burning my tongue.
Right.
And any suggestions for somebody like me?
Yeah, I would say try to take your C with food.
Yes.
Try to take it with, in a multiple combination, like the all-one formula that we promote. Because that way you get it with protein, you get it with calcium, magnesium, minerals that will tend to kind of buffer that acidic part of the vitamin C. There's vitamin C ascorbates, which are vitamin Cs that are actually kind of pre-buffered with calcium. You can go to something like that. And, everybody's different. The tolerance with vitamin C is a little different. And, diarrhea, which sounds like you had a little bit to the extreme there, is kind of, God's way of saying, okay, you have enough.
Comes with the territory, unfortunately.
Right, so
this
if
is,
you're one of the fortunate people that have, pretty good vitamin C levels, because, if you have too much, that's what will happen. For most people, you have to get upwards of 10 grams of vitamin C to start having those symptoms.
Yes.
And I know when Dr. Pauling was doing his research.
how much did he take a day?
Yeah, he was taking I don't know, 10, 15, 20 grams a day.
20 grams a day? And the guy did not wear a diaper. You know that for a fact, right?
Yeah, well, he also invented the pen. It's one of those things that he actually built up to it. He was deeply involved in personally experiencing vitamin C, and he wanted to see if this tolerance thing could be increased. And so he would actually, take a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until he would find the level that he felt that the human body. And his recommendations, to my knowledge, I don't think there's another research a person out there that's recommended quite as high a dosage of vitamin C that Pauling did. But he was pretty out there guy.
I'm thinking that the vitamin C you buy must be different than natural vitamin C, because I do juicing on a regular basis, like spinach juice, carrot, and celery.
Right.
And every day I drink at least a pint of that, and that gives me no problem at all.
That's great.
And
there's a difference. Isolated vitamins are different in terms of the vitamins as they're found in food, and the main difference is the fact that they're, like I was saying, they're found in combination with other cofactors,
yes.
It's like, that's why, I've been selling vitamins now for close to 40 years. We, basically have about 6 formulas, and they're all multiple formulas.
Yes.
And the reason people say, well, you're doing it so long, you should have like 1,000 products by now. But I really think, and I'm a firm believer, and Adele told me that was the conclusion that she'd come to, and Sharaskin felt the same way. There's so many doctors that I've had the fortune to work with, that multiple supplementation is really the way to go. That if you're deficient in one nutrient, you're probably deficient in all of them.
Let me ask you one more question about vitamin C. I heard some people talk about, they say that the true form of vitamin C is a fully reduced L form. Am I saying that correct? The fully reduced L form? Now, I don't know much about that. It's a new concept I never heard of.
Yeah, it's, I don't put that much stock in all of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the L form.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned.
Good luck. Try to get in foods. It seems with all that juicing, you're on the right path. This
Okay.
bowel tolerance issue, you're going to have to pay attention to it and get it in a food source as you are doing, and you're going to be much better off, okay?
Thank you, sir.
There you go. Wonderful question. I'm sure everybody benefited from it. I think I do still have another caller out there. Come on the story. You're with Doug Ingoldsby. Hello. Oh, maybe they gave up. Please come on back. 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney.
Oh, there you are. Okay, come on. You're with Doug Ingoldsby. Go right ahead.
There we go. I'm wondering if there's a difference between, I hear about vitamins from China and vitamins from corn that's been modified. And
Oh, yeah, corn, non-corn derived versus corn derived.
I'm going to hang up a listen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, it's interesting because, vitamins, the whole thing about synthetic vitamins and non-synthetic vitamins is really pretty much of a story, in the sense that really every high-potency vitamin supplement that you can get that's out there that measures any degree of potency, they're all synthesized. But they're all synthesized from something. They're all synthesized from some natural source at some point. Vitamin C is manufactured by cracking corn glucose, which is the sugar that comes from. Hello?
That's okay. He's listening now.
And so, but then people say, well, I have a corn allergy and I don't want to be taking corn. By the time it's vitamin C, there's no trace of any kind of mycotoxins or things that happen, that people worry about with corn and corn storage and that type of thing. So it's one of those things where if you, I think what happens, I'm kind of stumbling on my words here, but you have to be alert to the fact in this industry that there's, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry now, and there's probably, 10,000 vitamin companies out there. and each one of them is kind of jogging for a position as to how do they make their product sound a little sexier than the next product. And so there'll be a lot of stories about food-grown vitamins and, food-based vitamins and things like that, because people that buy supplements are looking for the most natural way to get them. And the government doesn't really regulate that particular element of it. If they come along and pick up a supplement off of a shelf and they assay it, and it has the levels of vitamins that are stated on the label, they're fine. They don't really regulate any kind of stories. And because of the fact that there's really not much that a supplement company can say in terms of disease or in terms of any, because they'll become what they call a drug claim, they tend to make up a lot of stories. Oh, we have raw vitamins, and we have this and that. And most of that stuff, you really have to kind of look at it with a little bit of a jaundiced eye and realize that, well, maybe. Because most supplements are really, pretty much the same kind of animal. The only difference, I think, that's really a true difference is kind of the mode of administration. In other words, how does that supplement get into your body? Does it go in as a compressed tablet that's loaded with a bunch of binders and fillers and disintegrants and non-nutritive stuff, or does it go in as a pure powder? Does it go in as a liquid that has preservatives in it, or does it go in as a pure powder? That's where I kind of stick my stake in the ground and feel that a product like All One is best, because it's the easiest way for the body to assimilate the vitamins. And the other part of his question, it was kind of a long question there, was, vitamins from China. There are a lot of vitamins that are in the flow of the supplement industry that are actually manufactured in China. People kind of freak out about that because of the melamine situation that happened.
Yeah, with the baby formulas.
Right. But that doesn't do with proteins. So I would say that, you want to make sure that if it's a protein product, that it's not coming from China. But most of all of the big vitamin manufacturing houses, Hoffman LaRoche, Gillies, they have plants in China right now and have really since the early 80s.
Wow.
So you are very possibly ingesting a vitamin that came from China. But, the assay, the quarantine, the kind of ways that things are, looked at in the process of formulating before it gets into a formula, that if there's any contaminants, they're tossed out long before that. So.
There you go. Okay, great question.
Yeah, it was a good question.
Thank you very much. Let's see, you're with Doug Ingoldsby, the number 412-825-6262. You got a question? I think there's nobody waiting in the background. Anybody there? Hello? I think that was it. Waiting for the next knock on the door. I'm going to ask you a question about this stress issue. We were talking off air. And is it a fact that we have more stress now than ever before? Or is it just we have a name for something? Was there as much stress 50 years ago as there is now? What do you think about that?
I think the answer I would probably say would be yes, there's more stress. And I would say the answer would also be that it's a different type of stress. In the old days, a lot of it was physical stress. We tended to be a much more physical nation. The type of work we did was much more physical than the type of work we do now. But now, we have a very fast-paced life. We're multitasking. Just ask any parent that's raising kids. It's like, they're going from here to there to there to there to there, and there's traffic, and there's just, so much that we've created, in trying to make things efficient, in and itself has really made life, I think, a bit more stressful than it probably was way back in the early days. And the other thing is that we don't eat foods like we used to eat. Are you familiar with the movie Food, Inc.? Did you ever hear about that?
No.
Yeah, it's a documentary. It came out a couple of years ago. It was in kind of a limited release, but it was a fascinating look at our foods that we eat as a country, as a nation. And there was an opening line in that movie that really struck me, and I repeat it oftentimes when I'm doing interviews. And the line was, is that the food that we eat has changed more in the last 50 years than it did in 10,000 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, if you really stop and then they go on in the film to show you what you're really eating, which is, a lot of the foods, the processed foods that we eat are, basically corn that's been just kind of, made to taste crunchy, or made to taste smooth, or made to taste salty, or made to taste sweet, or made to imitate whatever it is,
That's a heck of a statement. I can see why it had it resonated with you and continues to this present day.
Right.
Pretty big statement.
Right.
We got more people want to get at you. Doug, do you mind?
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, come on through. Next up, you're in the store with Doug Ingoldsby. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney.
Hi.
Your guest. This is a very good show.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd just like to ask quickly, because I could speak with you the rest of the day. But a couple of things have come up on this network, and one is, of course, about the vitamins being mainly coal tar products, which I sort of have an issue with. But could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Is coal tar, you mean a source of the vitamins?
I think it's just a negative way of expressing that the bulk of vitamins out there are synthesized and are petroleum-based.
Right. Well, there are some vitamins out there that are, that like I say, they start with certain, everything that's synthesized has to start somewhere.
Yes, it does. Yes.
But whether or not, it starts with a fish or it starts with corn glucose, it almost doesn't really matter in terms of what the physical property of the vitamin is by the time it's actually in the formula and you're consuming it. So
yeah, I seem to have.
There's a lot of kind of scary again, I want to harken back to that statement that I said about, a multi-billion-dollar industry that can't say anything. Because of that, there's a lot of, like scary stuff, oh, don't take that because it's from this, and synthetic vitamins are worse than non-synthetic vitamins because their aura rotates backwards or something like that.
Well, part of it comes from a company that is promoting their probiotic-generated vitamins, and they are very good, very top quality.
Right. Well, and I don't really have issue with people that, a lot of these food-grown or probiotic-based or whatever the thing is, but when you get right down to it, when you actually read the label, what you're going to find is that the vitamin B6 comes from pyridoxine HCl, which is the synthetic form of vitamin B6. That is the actual place that the potency of the nutrient comes from. Now, they may put that synthetic vitamin in a culture that contains probiotics and yeast and different things so that it has other food factors around that, and then compress it into a tablet and then sell it as something that's, so much more superior. I doubt whether there's been no proof, there's been no studies of the superiority of those things. So, and again, it's a part of our industry that's not regulated. And because we have an industry where people can't say anything, you can't say, this disease will be helped or that disease will be helped. So they have to say something. So they kind of come up with this, and then they say, oh, well, that company has synthetic vitamins and we have probiotic-based vitamins.
Right.
And it happened, and it's been going on for years. It's been going on for centuries.
And it will continue to go on, I'm sure.
And it will continue to go on because people are looking for a more natural product, and people will come up with some story somewhere. And I remember that my dad telling me there was a story way back this is in the 40s, when he was saying they were formulating some product. It used to be called DFS, or dietary food supplement, which was a multiple formula. And my dad was talking to the formulator, and he said, well, would it hurt if we put in some vegetable soup into it? this is not a joke. Okay. And the guy said, no, it wouldn't hurt at all. I mean, it's not going to affect the stability. He says, okay, just throw some vegetable soup in there. And then they started talking about how it was in a base of pimentos and tomatoes and cilantro or whatever, you know, all this type of stuff. And really a lot of that is just that. And so, but the potencies that they're actually using are derived from the exact same place that somebody that's not telling that story is getting their vitamin B6 from. Because it really only makes sense because if you think about it, we're, you know, like I said, a multi-billion-dollar industry. That means there's billions and billions of supplements that are consumed, you know, every year. And there's only so many companies that actually manufacture vitamin B6 or vitamin B1 or ascorbic acid or vitamin C. And so most people are getting the nutrients from the same raw material manufacturers, and then they'll, you know, put it in a base of some kind of food thing and you know, tell their story. And
sure.
People want to hear it. And you know, I remember the first time I ran into it, I used to travel with Sharaska he would go and lecture to dental societies across the country. And when I was building the business way back in those days, you know, I would go there because they would be all nutritionally oriented doctors, and I'd be the only guy in the room. It was a great way of, and plus I got to listen to Sharaska over and over, and he was just a very entertaining, very, very knowledgeable research doctor in nutrition. And, you know, the first time I heard it was in the Midwest. In those days, the only vitamin that they'd heard of was Shaklee. And I'm not benigning Shaklee in any way. They're a nice, good, reputable company, and they had a product called Vita-Lee. And it was
I heard of it.
Yes, it was a green tablet, okay? And I had this lady get on the phone with me, and I tried to explain to her that the vitamin C that comes in their Vita-Lee, even though it was listed as vitamin C, you can call ascorbic acid vitamin C. That's a legal name that you can use on your label.
We got to hustle this up.
No. I you know, because everything that they were doing was in these multi-level things where they'd have, you know, meetings.
Tell you what, we got bongos here signaling our time out of here. Doug, we're going to have to bring you back.
Oh, I think you should come back.
We'll bring him back. We'll bring him back, folks. Look, we're going to have to shoot right on out of here. We're going to bring it to a conclusion. So long now. This is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Dr. Doug Ingoldsby. See you on Wednesday. Bye now. You there, Doug?
Yeah.
All right. They were signaling me we had to leave. We can bring you back, and looks like sometime in March. How about if I set it up with Kelly?
Or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
KHB